been moments in my adulthood where I have had to say, I am not emotionally in a space where I can have sex right now. Like I've had to say that. Like I am a mess. And
I feel like you don't say that often.
Damn, Mickey.
You are now entering the Drink and Tell group chat with your hosts, Candice, Twana, Jocelyn, Micky, and Asia. Welcome to the group chat.
All right, people. Thank you for joining in for episode 4 of Drink and Tell podcast. We're going to go right into it. I am your host, Asia Man. So if I'm hosting, you can only imagine what it's going to be about. We'll get there. But today we are drinking Kevin Hart's tequila. It's called Gran Coramino. Fancy. They got it on the rocks. You doing a margarita? I'm not. My stomach all jacked up, so I can't drink anything. But cheers to y'all. Okay.
I have mine with communion juice.
Well, there you go with that Jesus juice.
Your Israel communion juice.
Yes.
How much have you had? Because you look very happy.
A lot.
It's so incredibly smooth. You don't even taste it.
That's dangerous.
Oh, Lord.
You know what? But tequila is the right drink for this, because tequila, I don't know about y'all, but if I drink tequila, somebody getting something that night, okay? Somebody gonna get taken advantage of. Somebody. That's why I don't drink it, because we're not even gonna go there. Anyway, so we're gonna start off with our pop culture topic. And this is purely Jocelyn's fault. She has me watching this show called The Ultimatum. I don't know if y'all have seen it, but it's
great.
It's foolishness. Do you hear me? First of all, Nick and whatever his wife named, Lachey, they are hosting every weird married dating show. Like, right? They did the what is it?
Love is Blind.
They have this show. They did something else too, didn't they? They do all the weird shows.
I feel like
but apparently during their relationship.
Do they do Love Island? Is that the third one?
Oh, I didn't watch
I'm
that.
not sure. I know for sure they do Love is Blind. And then I know they do the Ultimatum.
Too. I just watched that. I watched the last episode. That was the first time I've ever seen it. That shit was foolishness too. I think it is bizarre how people go on these shows and think that it's gonna work out. Like, do people really think that it's gonna work out though?
It worked out for a couple people on Love is Blind. Yeah, shout out to Lauren and Cameron.
Yes, Lauren and Cameron.
That's a mixed couple.
Yes,
and they're cute too.
They are cute.
I love them.
Okay,
and back to Tiffany too.
Okay, so the ultimatum basically is these couples. Somebody is giving. It could be the man or the female is giving the other one an ultimatum about marriage. There's people that have been dating between 2 and 7 years on this show. One of the 7 years they've been dating since high school. Okay.
Wait a minute.
Since they were 16.
Micky and I both like.
Well, I can give them that, because if you started dating at 16, you're still only 23. They're still very young. So I wouldn't really push that one.
Okay.
Look.
Wait, Candice had a timeout. What's up?
7 years.
7
age,
years.
Candice. Look at the age. 16
They're
to 23.
23.
They're 23.
But you know white people go to college to find husbands. You know them white girls be going to college to find husbands. Tell me I'm wrong.
I'm not even
the thing. They also get married at 18. So
they do.
is as after 7 years of anything,
you know
whether or not you want to be with this person.
Exactly.
Forever.
For sure.
You may know you want to be with them, but you also may recognize that you also may recognize that you're 23. Tarjay. Yes. No. I can't take the years into account when it started at 16 and they just 23. I'm sorry. They need to wait.
Well, okay, fine. Either way. So the fact is, if you have to give your partner an ultimatum, then why would you even want to? I mean, that means they're not choosing to marry you. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. That's just me. But there was another one. So the one that stood out to me, and they were on the show a very short amount of time. There was a black woman, light-skinned man. I'm going to say light-skinned for a reason. And Anybody, y'all know.
She's saying it. She's in the community. She's in the community.
Okay. So she is older than him. He's 31. He's like 26, right? She gives him an ultimatum. They've been together 2 years. She gives him an ultimatum about being married. And she's a 6-figure girl. So why would he not want to marry her? This is what she's doing as she's saying it. Just so you, that's why I'm doing it. And he's like, well, I'm not ready for marriage, but I'm ready. When did it stop being something that people agree to do together? Like, it's like people are putting knives to people's throats and guns to their head to get married, and then they're sad or they're surprised when it doesn't work. Somebody make it make sense. Okay, so sorry. So they didn't make it past the first episode because she took a pregnancy test and found out she was pregnant by him.
So you skipped a whole lot of stuff between the time.
She's like, that's all that matters.
It's all that matters.
It's not all that matters.
That bitch was crazy.
Asia, you can't mention that man was light skinned and then skip the fact that she mushed him in the face on television. Mushed him
in the face on TV.
And he backed away all light skinned. Like, you can't skip that.
Right. You're right, because I said he was light skinned for a reason, because he was a punk. Like, she punked him on TV in front of everybody. He took it, followed after her, okay? And then when he found out she was pregnant, he was so happy, we're gonna be together. That's how I feel about it.
I don't like this representation of the like. I'll hold this thought because it's not relevant to.
First,
yes,
this. Light-skinned men are notoriously bitch assness people. They got bitch ass.
I didn't say that.
Oh, that is Asia's opinion. I'm not gonna ride with that one. Light skinned men.
I don't date light skinned men.
I'm saying he did. I'm not saying all men would have reacted that way.
You knew what I meant when I said he was light skinned, though, didn't you? You knew what I meant when I
knew exactly where you were going.
Pause. You don't do what, Asia?
Just because my baby daddy is light skinned. That was the exception to the rule. Okay,
I was
the only light skinned man I've ever dated.
I wasn't gonna say nothing.
And let's just say,
but I was
he's not even a middle of the line light skin. Like, there's no other place he could be.
He swears he's caramel. He's not. He's light skinned. But first of all, he knows I didn't date him for years because he was light skinned. So we're not gonna go there.
But we're gonna get letters about this shit.
Listen,
I'm light skinned. I can say this, can I?
No, you're part of the community.
Why I'm saying nothing.
No. First of all, we're not separating out this community. We are all black, and we come.
We are all black,
so we can speak on all parts of blackness. But you are throwing some hell-sized balls.
I hold fast to my opinion about light-skinned men. Send the hate mail to me. I'll take it, and I'll happily respond. Okay, thank you.
She's not lying.
The point is that these shows are on, and I think it's crazy that people go on these shows and think that some type of resolution is going to happen, like something great is going to come out of it. The odds are very slim, in my opinion. Maybe I'm crazy. How do y'all feel about it?
So, I mean, we touched on it, but age, right? So a lot of these, like, I believe I heard one of the young ladies talk about romanticism as it related to what she had seen on TikTok. Like, her man had laid out rose petals and done all the things, but it didn't quite match what she had seen on TikTok. And that was the bar for how she felt the day should have gone, because I mean, it's all about the gram. And we've talked about this in previous episodes. A lot of this isn't even really about wanting to share a life with somebody. This is about stunning.
I agree to a certain extent because of the era that we live in, but dating shows have been around since the 70s. So think about when the people used to go on the Dating Game and all of those shows. It's been there. I think the way that social media is now kind of makes things a little unattainable or not realistic like the dating shows back then. But I would look, can we bring back some of them folks? Shouldn't they be like in their 70s now to see, hey, did you go on a dating game back in the 70s? Did it work out?
But see, those were all dating games though, Micky. Yes. These are marriage shows. Like all of them are getting married now. Get married for 60 days or whatever that stuff is. Like it's
okay.
Stuff.
Look.
And so, I mean, if you haven't seen the ultimatum, the show ends with either you marry the person you came with, or you leave with the another person.
or you're by yourself. You either decide to stay with the person that you came with and you get married, or what happens is that they swap the people
Partners.
So yeah, it's the weirdest stuff. So they decide who they want and they move in together. When they swap, they choose somebody, they move in together. It's like they're simulating being married to this other person. They get to know each other. One of them sleeps with another person. Like, it's like, man,
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So they get the bump uglies with somebody else other than they
Should
mate?
they choose, because they're
If
in
they
a trial marriage for 2 weeks.
a marriage for 2 weeks, right? So at the
Sign
end,
me up.
and you can tell these people are salty that their ex, because they had to break up, that they're enjoying the time with the other person, or they're like, well, wait a minute, they might actually be with this other person. It's
Right.
I mean, but you're playing Russian roulette.
Right.
Is it typically the women that are salty, Asia, when
No.
this happens?
No.
Okay, it's the other way around.
It's a
No,
mixed
both
bag.
of them. It's a mixed bag.
So
It's
you're probably under the impression that most of the women brought these men here to issue the ultimatum. No,
Men.
it's a mixed
Men.
bag.
Yep.
Okay. So basically, new
At least
booty
two
is winning. Everybody getting
New booty is winning.
New booty is winning.
So at least
And
two of the
on that
women aren't really into the idea of marriage. And there are a lot of questions, Asia, to the point of the show where they're talking about not really knowing what intimacy is.
Yeah. They don't know what foreplay is. They don't know what intimacy is. Like it's the craziest, because they're, I guess, to your point, Mickey, they're young, but at the same time, courting and dating and sexuality and sex is very different now than it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Like the whole process, like there's no lead up to it. It's kind of like, I see you, I want to sleep with you, we sleep together, now let's see if our relationship works type situation.
Yeah.
Okay. So if y'all have not seen the show, please,
I
would say don't watch it, but
I love
watch
it.
the episode, because one episode turned into 6 with me. And my whole day, the white noise was this show. And I was like, this is the craziest shit ever. Anyway, so today we are going to talk about sex. So let's talk about sex, baby. Yes. So I think that I'm the most sexually liberated of the group, so I'm hosting this episode. And that can be a good and a bad thing, however you want to take it. But what we're going to talk about is basically embracing sex and sexuality. As we get, like, when you're growing up, there are certain things that you may be raised to think are taboo. And you may grow up and realize, oh, well, wait a minute. I mean, that's not really that bad. Or if you grew up in the church, you may not be able to speak to your parents about or be open about sexuality. May it be sexuality or sex itself. So what we're going to talk about is basically how we were raised and what our views are on sexuality based on where we are now and where we were. We'll have a little insight on the evolution of marriage. Possibly we'll see how much Twana wants to share. We are not pressuring anybody to share anything, because look, we ain't married and we are not trying to get her not married. And we cannot take responsibility for that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is throw it to CMB, because she is, I mean, in her theology, she said something about twerking. You posted the red lip theology today, and I thought it was hilarious, because some of that we addressed in our group chat when we was hyping you up earlier today. But at the same time, with you having such a strong background in the church, and even presently, with you being so open about being able to be who you are, and you can still love Jesus and Jesus still loves you, and how that can translate to people that have felt maybe confined because of their religion and their sexuality, like having a conflict between what they may think is religiously not acceptable, and what they may want to have acceptable in their lives.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up Baptist, so I tell people all the time, I grew up in a denomination that was do do as I say, not as I do.
Listen.
Because Baptists are notorious for we are free church, right? We have autonomy. But I grew up like my parents weren't married, and I grew up constantly hearing that was a bad thing, that like you should be married before you have any kind of like sex, right? And so in my house, we never talked about sex. Like my mom was a nurse. My mom, I will never forget. I know the name of the video and I know the theme song. The video was called Who Am I Now? It was a video about the reproductive system, and it included a live birth at the end. I was in middle school. My mom played it, walked out the room, and when it was over, came back and was like, "Do you have any questions?" And I was like, "No." I was traumatized. Right. But like, she didn't tell me anything, and other than that, like I was told that like kissing is how you got pregnant. So I seriously didn't want a boy around me. Like I didn't want anybody to kiss me. And then later I asked her, I was like, why did you tell me that lie? And she was like, I was a single mama raising a Black girl in the 90s. My objective was to get you out the house into college without no baby. So whatever I had to say, I was going to say it, right? And it wasn't until I got to college and was given
a membership to the Chastity League, to the whole league.
I already talked about them. Move on.
Move on.
That I did not believe was who they were. It wasn't until I knew that like I loved like sex. I thought that I would like really enjoy it even before I knew anything about it. And like, so very few people other than like my like freshmen that were cool with me knew that when I decided that I was going to have sex for the first time, like I went to the library to like study about sex. So I went and I read about fellatio and cunnilingus, and I watched in my room. Like I really wanted to approach it from like this scholastic, because I wanted to be good at it.
Only you, Candice.
I know, and it was a very interesting experience, but I made myself feel bad because that's what I thought I was supposed to do. Like I thought I wasn't supposed to enjoy sex because I'm a Christian. I'm a church girl, born and raised in the church. I always tried to make myself feel bad afterwards because I thought that's what you were supposed to do. Now, granted, me making myself feel bad didn't always translate in me not having sex. Like I thought it should have. Like senior year of college, I went through true love waits as a grown ass woman and had a purity ring because I really wanted to like do the right thing. The ring said patiently waiting. I had it engraved. And they were like, when you get married, you can melt it down and turn it into a watch for your husband and tell them that you were patiently waiting. And now the time is here. I think I didn't have it past like 2 months after graduation.
I was
like,
wondering how long that lasted.
Didn't last long. And so it took a lot of just like becoming very comfortable in my skin to realize that like I'm a sexual being. Like I love intimacy. Like kiss my ass, Micky. I love like there's something very like precious to me about being intimate with someone. And I don't ever want to I didn't want to continue to not do that because I was in my head because of what church people were telling me. Like, I don't feel any less holy when I'm having sex, right? And and then as a biblical scholar, like, and as a theologian, like, hell, we put up these women who were in the Bible getting it in. Like Ruth literally sucked Boaz's thing. And that is how she was able to not, like, that's how she was able to secure him.
Are you checking facts?
Okay, Google.
Yeah. Shout out to Naomi for being a wench with a plan, though.
Listen, Naomi was like, look,
here's what you do.
This is what you do. Because after you do that, he's a man of honor. He ain't gonna let you be out here knowing that you did that. So do what you gotta do and come back. Like Esther, one night with the king, Esther went in, did what she had to do. And he was like, I want that one. Like, this is like, sex is in scripture all over the place.
So Candice, instead of Esther singing "Take Me to the King," she was saying, "Tonight I'm living in a fantasy, my own little nasty world. Tonight, don't you want to come with me? Do you think I'm a nasty girl?" I used to love Vanity. Sorry. Okay, keep going.
What? Hey, idiot.
I cannot with her. Cannot.
But
like, so Candice,
yeah,
you went to the library
and
did all this research. You want to know where I went?
Where'd you go?
Jesus.
Asia's room.
It's a school of Asia.
And there was no different outcome than from the Bible. I came back like when she said he want to get married.
Put a ring on it. I drew a picture and everything. I had a diagram. I sure did. I sure did.
I think you've given all of us tips at some point.
Candice, I think we should do like a graphic organizer of all the ones who were in the chastity league and not calling the ones that were doing it, and I'll include myself in that, the hoes. But let's see who all I got married after college. I'll bet money all the ones that was fucking all of us literally got married right after college.
Or
it was a lot.
Where they finished.
So they lied to you. You could have gave that thing up and got a ring still.
Listen,
that's true. So for me, I didn't grow up. My parents didn't talk about it, but they did not talk about it. It was never. I knew both of my parents were highly sexual beings because I heard them fucking all the goddamn time. But
I'm disgusted.
I mean, who has not walked into their parents having sex? Is it nobody else has? Exactly. But they was loud.
I never walked in on her.
Oh, you never have?
Yeah, we were raising our hands saying never.
We were saying we never.
Well, first of all, the house I grew up in was like 800 square feet, so there was not a whole lot of places to hide. But
Francis was second cousins to Miss Bimbo and Jesus, so she wasn't going. She. I'm gonna stop talking to her because I will not disgrace Francis. But
no, you're not. Well, needless to say, I was never. It was never a. My parents never made it seem uncomfortable for me to be able to come to them and talk to them if I needed to. So I literally, the day after I lost my virginity, I told my mom. Literally the next day.
How old were you?
I was 13, and she was like, "So, what you think? Do I need to put you on birth control?" I said, "Nope, won't be doing that again anytime soon. But I'll let you know if I change my mind." And I let her know when I changed my mind. But I also know I didn't want to be a teen mom. While yes, I do now enjoy sex, at that time, I don't want to say that I wasn't ready, but I was just like, oh, okay, well, I can take it or leave it. As I got older, I realized, you realize what you like about it. Like I'm a little different from most people. I don't have an emotional attachment to sex. It can be emotional for me if I have an emotional attachment to that person. But if I don't, it's very physical. It's something need that I have that I need to get filled, and it's simple. So maybe that's a bad. I don't think it's bad, but most men are.
I don't think it's a bad thing.
I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that it doesn't put me in a situation where I feel like I'm trapped up in a lot of things, but I know what makes me happy. I know what I need. And I think that a lot of women really need to embrace what it is that they want and what they need, and prioritize that, and not apologize for it. Like,
I think a lot of women wish they had it like you, Asia. Like, I think a lot of women would appreciate not having the attachment to guys, because sometimes that attachment is formed with guys that they don't need to have attachments with, right? So,
Right.
So I'm sure there are plenty of women who wish that they could just handle business and move on.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah. It could be a blessing and a curse, because sometimes people, you want to be more emotional, and you don't. That's not how you see that person, so you just don't get attached to them. So that's probably one of the very few things in my life that is black and white, and it's sex. It's either I'm emotional about it or I'm not emotional about it. But
is one better than the other for you?
I will honestly say that I prefer not to have feelings about it, because I am, though I'm not emotional, I don't come off as emotional. If I do get attached, I get attached, like,
okay,
very attached. And I would
driving around somebody's front yard multiple times attached.
Shut up. Needless to say, I would rather have my local talent and be perfectly happy. And emotions get complicated, and that's all to say. Emotions get complicated. So sometimes I'd rather just not be emotional, and it makes it less complicated, and we go from there.
But that goes back to what we said in a previous episode with you wanting emotionally unavailable men. So for that reason. So yeah.
Whatever.
No, I'm saying it makes sense. Like, it makes sense if that's what you prefer. Yeah.
What I would like to have a relationship where the sexual relationship is healthy and I'm attached. Yes. But normally in a relationship, one person's going to be more attached than the other. And the sex could either make it more complicated, or it could make it more complicated for the good or for the bad. I mean, you could be emotionally attached to somebody had terrible sex, and then what? Or you could be emotionally attached to a terrible person with great sex, and then what do you? It's like, what do you do? So, I would like for women to take charge of their sexuality and be okay with, people always say stuff about body count and da 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 da. I mean, everybody has a past. Everybody has a past. Now, you don't. Everybody doesn't. I don't think it's anybody's. I don't.
Fell down. I got a song for everything. Okay, just keep going.
Killing me with this microphone.
I told y'all tequila for this episode was a bad idea. Keep it moving. I told y'all.
I have made drink number 2. It is
there's no more Jesus juice in there.
I know, it's an Arnold Palmer
with tequila. I'll praise him. Okay.
Drink water, friend.
Drink water, friend. Drink water, friend. How do you guys feel about sharing body count? Is it your business? Is it the other person's business?
No. I mean, if you want to share, cool, but it's childish.
Like, are you talking about the person that you're in relationship with to
going into a relationship with? If they asked you what your body count was, do you think that's any of their business? Would you want to know theirs?
Nah.
I ain't gonna hold you. I was sitting here thinking that you was asking us to tell our body count on this show.
No, I'm not even gonna do that.
And I was gonna text you and be like, we didn't talk about
everybody pause. Look, Candice, nobody said anything.
I'm good. Twana sit up there like, I'm good.
I'm gonna do like J. Cole said, you gotta multiply by 3 because I'm about to lie. Oh, I'm about to lie.
Last week, I swear to God.
Oh my God, tequila was a bad idea.
I told you.
You brought the tequila up.
So I'll say, for me, once, so Martez and I shared when we first started dating.
Y'all were 12 when you started dating.
Shut up. We
were like 8 when y'all started going together.
And this is coming from somebody who's married and ain't been in the dating game for a long time. But I feel like if I were in the dating game, I would want to know, that is my business, right? Like, because the amount of people.
But we're 40. We're in our 40s. Do you really want to know?
I don't know.
I want to know when was the last time you got tested. I want to know that.
I don't even want to know that.
That's physical.
I want to see them records. Run me them previous records.
First of all, I'm going to the doctor with you.
There it is.
Okay, I'm making the appointment. I'm going with you. I want to know that thing work. I want to know what the blood work looking like. What's your cholesterol? I want to know it all.
Oh my gosh.
Mine's is slightly elevated today.
Thank you. Y'all know I like them a little seasoned. So.
But I mean, to be fair, I don't want to know body count because I feel like that's not indicative of the kind of person that you are. And I say that as somebody who, as a church girl, felt really bad when mine got beyond a number 1, right? Like that, like this idea, no, for real, like I felt really bad that like, and that was part of that shame, right? Of like growing up in church and like you didn't wait for your husband. Mm-hmm. And so now like if he's one of these 2 that I had, I'm gonna have to tell him that I had sex with one other person. And
I'm sure he already knows, honey. I'm sure he already knows.
Right, but like
you got them tricks in your pocket now.
You know what I'm saying? Hey. But if he's not one of those 2 people, I'm gonna have to tell him I had sex with 2 people. And that was like for a long time in my head. Mm-hmm. And so once I had to let that go for me, then I had to let that go for the other person. Like now I don't care. Like I told the guy that when we had the body count conversation, I said, I only care about your body count in this relationship. Like your body count in this relationship does not need to exceed 1. Mm-hmm. And that's me. So like that's the only body count that I care about, because the other truth for me is that if you tell me, I know how my mind works. And as somebody who I've gotten secure in who I am and what I have to offer sexually, but I'm also, I ain't got all the tricks. I can't do everything. So like,
nobody can, ma'am.
But I don't want to be in my head thinking he said he had sex with 30 chicks. Mm-hmm.
So Candice,
is that what you want to know? Where do you fall in line in production?
Yeah, that like I don't ever want to like, because I don't want him to be like, well, you number 30, but I love you. Like what the like
that number 21 though. That number 21.
No. So let me jump in there. Candice, anybody you dealing with, any grown man that is normal, he don't have that body count been 30 and beyond. This is where I have issues. When you start getting up in numbers and I'm starting to think, were you a prostitute in some point in your life? Because now that's 300 bodies. But I'm telling you, I have friends. I won't tell them myself, but 30, shoot, they hit that before they got married in their 30s. What is you talking about? That is
a lot of people.
I'm gonna go back with Jocelyn. No, because if you get in your 40s and folks are single and they're dating, just do the math. If you just did 3 folks a year, right? 3 relationships a year, and you've never been married and you're dating in your 20s and 30s, it is real easy to rack it up. A lot of people don't rack those numbers up because they either get in long-term relationships or they get married. Mm-hmm. But if you're single for 2 decades, you don't have to just be turning tricks every night to hit a number. Now, there is a number that I have in my mind where I'm looking at you sideways. So maybe I shouldn't have asked you what it is, because at that point, you was on the corner. You was soliciting. You probably caught a charge or 2.
So, Jocelyn, you grew up in a married 2-home household. Mm-hmm. How was
Baptist?
So how was sexuality?
Missionary Baptist.
So, I mean, it was a lot like Candice, because my mom passed me this white book with big block letters on it that said, "Where do babies come from?" She walked out, she too exited the room and came back and said, "Do you have any questions?"
But have you had a sex talk with your daughters?
Absolutely.
Okay. And you shoot it straight.
Extensively. Yeah, we have to, because A, they're growing up in a different time. True. B, I think about all of the things that I had to navigate without this knowledge when I got to school. Mm-hmm. Like it was hard. It was a learning curve to like catch up. And I was never one of those people who wanted to necessarily wait until I was married, but I did want it to mean something. Right. And so I just wasn't just out in the streets going. Right.
Is this
So
thing
Asia,
on?
to answer your question, after the book transaction, the next real conversation I had was with my dad. Like, don't come home on no bullshit. And it took me like 20 minutes to realize that he was telling me, don't come home pregnant.
Oh.
That was the extent of our conversation. That was it.
Wait, when did he say this?
Around 99, 2000.
Oh, when you were in school. Gotcha.
Oh,
that was it.
That was my mama. My mama told me, she said, this is literally what she said about sex when I got to TSU. I brought one up here, one better come back.
damn,
and I was like,
I'm using that FYI.
And so then when I told her when I got to college after freshman year that I was no longer a virgin, she was like, I thought we decided you was going to wait until you got married. I said, Mama, we never had that conversation. Like, I don't even know where that came from. And she was so upset. But it's so funny how when you get older, that dynamic shifts. Because when she moved me, it was actually our last, like the last time that like we were together. When she moved me to New Jersey, because I was starting a PhD program, she said, all right, I'm bringing one up here. Can I get two back this time? And we laughed because she would have never said that when I was younger.
Right.
Grandmother, when I moved here, my grandma was like, can you give me a petri dish grandbaby? And that was her way of telling me that I had her permission to do insemination. And I was like, well, Grandma, you can't, if I get pregnant, you cannot call my baby a petri dish baby. She was like, well, that's how he was made in the
test tube, baby. And then they used to say,
yeah. No, but it's so funny how like you get older and all of that, like the ways that they were stringent about sex goes completely out the window. So just tell me which my cousin is having that conversation with her daughter now. And I've had that conversation with her daughter, and I plan to have it with my daughter and my children, period. Mm-hmm. That like, I would rather you wait because there's so many things that you can do and you want to do that maybe sex will complicate right now. But like the idea that if sex is fundamentally wrong when I'm 16, then that means sex is fundamentally wrong when I'm 36. Right. So it's not that sex is wrong. You just didn't really want me to have it as a kid. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's a way
say that,
and I'm not a parent right now, but I was a child.
So I am, and I have girls, and here's how I presented it to her. Probably around 7th or 8th grade. I not only told her there are things mentally and emotionally that come along with sex that you're not quite ready to handle. I pointed to friends that were acting crazy. Like, I made them illustrative points and told her why. Mm-hmm. And, you know, she never verified or confirmed, but she was shook. Like, everything on her face was like, how did you know?
Right. I'm a fur, I have a fur baby, but I have 2 nieces that I help raise. The oldest one talks too much about the birds and the bees. She was always very comfortable, even as a small child. And by teenage years, it was just like, oh, it's too much. But I had to be that person that she was comfortable with because I needed to be in the know. I also knew when it went down, and that was a whole nother conversation. Won't share business. But the youngest one is 17, and the way that I presented is very similar to Jocelyn. And I told her, sex is beautiful. And she looked at me. I said, yes, sex is beautiful. The reason why Auntie is asking you not to have it is because emotionally you can't handle it. Your heart can't handle it. And also the one that you're doing with, if he's the same age as you, he can't handle it. Mm-hmm. And it could make you feel a type of way if he doesn't feel the same way about you after the act. So let's make this pact that we'll wait until we're in college. So she said, what happens then? I said, well, all bets off then, because I know that fall, that freshman orientation, it may go down. I said, so I'm going to give you the neti pack from a different world. the Nettie stay ready. Y'all remember the episode of that when she gave the kid the Nettie be ready pack, and then we'll go from there. And it wasn't a shame thing. It was just like, you a minor, you can't afford it, and emotionally you can't handle it, and there's things that come with it. When you're an adult, it's different, and we can't control that, and you're no longer a minor. And I think if it would have been presented to a lot of us like that, we wouldn't have pushed back or snuck around and been like, oh, because she was like, that makes sense. Because you be crying about little trivial stuff. Imagine what you do if you give your body to somebody and your heart is bruised. She's like,
yeah. I told my oldest son, I said, don't do something that you're not going to be prepared to handle after the fact, of whatever that may be. May it be, if you do this and you get somebody pregnant, can you have, because I'm not raising no kids. I've raised my children. I will love my grandchildren when it's time for me to be a grandmother. Now ain't it? So don't do something in a moment that could derail. If you're not prepared to deal with what could happen, just don't even do it. It's gonna come, and when that time comes, okay, cool. But just be prepared to either deal with the consequences or make sure you're prepared to protect yourself and the other person, so that you don't have to deal with the consequences, but you need to be very mindful of it, because when you're young and dumb, and you can do stupid stuff and not think of think of the long game. So if you have all these goals, XYZ, what happens if, when you do have sex and you're not responsible like you should be, and all those goals go out the window because now you have a whole new responsibility?
But
or your dick falls off because the girl nasty, and she got
all of us
crabs and flap for chlamydia. Like
Asia, I put that in your head. I literally was thinking about Vampire in Brooklyn, and his penis did fall off. Evil is good. Don't let the devil win. Okay, I'm done.
But here's the thing. What's really interesting was that this is why we should have had better conversations when we were younger, because all of what you said applies still to us in our 40s. Because there have been moments in my adulthood where I have had to say, I am not emotionally in a space where I can have sex right now. Like I've had to say that. Like, I am a mess. And
Candice, I feel like you don't say that often.
Damn, Micky. Lord have mercy.
Okay,
we're gonna Twana.
Yes.
Now, so you are the married one of the group, and I'm going to tread as lightly as possible. But you all dated in college and got married, had 2 children. You guys have been married a very long time. Have you all I'm trying to tread lightly. All
right, so let me start off with this. Talking about Candice and Josh's experience of what their mom talked to them about with sex. My mom's sex conversation with me was, keep your panties up and your skirt down. That was it. Literally.
But I don't wear panties or skirts, so I don't know how that would work.
That was our conversation. And I was scared to death to have sex.
Scared enough
because of that. No, I did not lose my virginity until I was 18. Like, I was scared as heck. It's funny because I felt like it was me and one other girl in my class who were still virgins senior year. And so I kind of took that as because all the guys wanted to date me because they wanted to be my first. And I'm like, yeah, not happening, buddy. Not happening. But anyway, okay. So fast forward to 21 years of marriage. And Asia, I think you're asking me, has there been transformation with our sex?
Has there been like an evolution of
I like that.
For sure. Yeah, because we started dating at 21, 22.
I think it was younger.
2021.
20. About 20.
It had to be 20.
I think I was 21. He was 22, maybe. He was 20. I was 21, maybe. Sorry. Yeah, so 23 years of being with each other. And quite frankly, I didn't know exactly what I enjoyed prior to him.
That's my question.
So I learned with him essentially.
But that's dope. That's dope,
Yeah.
though. I'm sorry.
Yeah, for sure.
Be still my heart. I still believe in love.
I have a question for Twana. What would you, because I have a lot of friends, both in real life and on the socials, who are married women who are coming into this kind of awakening that is connected to faith and their sexuality and sex. And they are feeling like, ooh, I can't, and it doesn't have to be anything wild. I'm being very clear. It doesn't have to be anything wild, but they are shedding kind of like the skin of who they were told wives and mothers should be. And they're feeling uneasy and shame and guilt around that. How do you like make sense of how would you help them to make sense of that transformation and to feel okay about it?
Yeah. So I mean, for me, like, that's your husband, like, all bets are off, right? Like, to me, you know what I'm saying?
Candice, what's that verse about the bedroom and being defiled and all that? Please quote it.
The marriage bed is undefiled.
Off the dome, she knows it all.
Yeah. So all bets are off. And so ultimately, like, sex obviously is a huge part of a relationship, right? So it's important for all parties to be to enjoy it, right? So it's just a matter of making sure you guys are communicating with each other, you know, and being open about what you like, don't like, etc. But I say, as long as you are comfortable, girl, ain't nobody in that bedroom shoe. Have at it. Have at it.
And in my opinion, there's a huge difference between sex and intimacy. So when I say that I don't have an emotional attachment, even if I could have sex with someone and not kiss them, because kissing is intimate to me, and what I want to give them, because it's a physical act, right? I think that, as I said before, a lot of women have desires, because we're wrapping this up. We're going to wrap this segment up. So I'm going to say a lot of women have desires and needs that they're maybe scared to vocalize to their partner, or maybe scared to vocalize to themselves. I think that discovering what it is that pleases you physically and emotionally and mentally, because sometimes they can be all together, is very important, because you can't go into a relationship not knowing what you like and expect somebody else to know what you like. It's literally impossible. It's impossible. Now we're going to go into our drink and tell submission, where one of you all anonymously submit your situation, and you want us to give our opinion on it. And it's our opinion. This ain't law. This is our opinion. So, dear Drink and Tell crew, I need your help. I've been talking to someone for a bit, and they're nice. We enjoy each other, and up until now, there have been no red flags. We made plans to take a trip to Atlanta. First of all, don't take a trip to Atlanta with nobody, because we full and it's expensive here. Okay, I'm just gonna
First red flag.
Go to Houston.
First, yeah. First red flag, I want to take the trip to Atlanta. Anyway, plans to take a trip to Atlanta with friends, and I was excited to go. I did let them know that money was tight, since I just completed a major expense, and they assured me that they had me covered. Another red flag. On our way to our trip, I sensed something was wrong, but they did not seem to want to chat about it. As we got into the trip, it became clear that this person was experiencing financial strain and only had $200. That included gas, and we just completed brunch. In Atlanta, that's a whole thing. I'm sure you realize by now the math didn't math very far. They came clean, and I was livid and asked to go home, but friends convinced me to stay and enjoy the weekend. I haven't spoken to this person since we arrived back home. I want to be reimbursed. And what makes me more upset isn't that they were broke, but they didn't communicate that before luring me into the trip. How should I move forward? I enjoyed this person, but it seems like the first of many red flags. What would you do? Take a sip and tell me. Well, boo, y'all take a sip for this person, please.
Wait, okay. So I may need you to clarify for me. So this is a friend trip, or is this someone she's dating?
So it sounds to me like it's somebody that they're dating and they went on a friend group trip.
Got it.
That's my understanding.
But the person that they're dating is who showed up with limited funds.
But they said that they had, I got you. He or she basically said, I got you. Come on the trip.
But then they didn't
only
have
had $200.
Got it.
Which including gas money.
I mean, did he think that this, see, in 2009, I think about an Atlanta trip, Asia, we were all in Atlanta the summer of 2009. And $200 suffice. Went to the strip club, went to the club, went to bowling, drinks, all that stuff. Now it's 14 years later and inflation is what it is. So I am confused unless he thought they were, you know what, they only have, look, what, 4 for 4 no more, not the $4 holler.
And you know they went to a brunch place. They got the lamb chops and the wall with the grass on it and the hookah.
That's $200 in itself.
After brunch, he ain't had no money.
He had no money. He or she didn't have no money.
They didn't have any money. So here's the thing. Yes, it's a red flag, but I will also say that when it comes to finances, people can get very insecure. And this sounds like somebody who wasn't ready to share that they didn't have. Maybe something happened right before the trip. Maybe when they said, I got you, they did have you. Something happened. Maybe they was lying the whole time. I don't know. And you won't know unless you actually have a conversation.
Yeah.
I will say that, now here's the thing about being reimbursed. My mom always said you never spend money or give money that you need to get back. So you might need to chalk that up to an L.
Take that L.
And if this is somebody that you care about, though, I do think that it's worth having a conversation to see what happened. Mm-hmm. And if this is somebody that you're interested in moving forward with, the money situation, the money thing might be a boundary in the beginning. Like, I've dated people that I've had to have a very hard money boundary in the beginning. Some of those relationships, that money boundary eased up. Some of those relationships, it never eased up. But it's okay to have, I think the biggest thing is I don't understand why we don't talk anymore. Things happen and people are humans. People fuck up. That was whoever it was should have said, I ain't got but $200.
Yeah. Before they left.
And they should have communicated that. If this is somebody that you care about, then the ball is in your court as to how you are going to proceed. But I do think that we don't value conversations enough. We just cut each other off. And money makes people, financial insecurity is hard for anybody.
It is.
Mm. I am the throw the deuces person. I'm like, girl, get out, run.
I mean, are we surprised?
Run now. Huge red flag to me. Like, if you can't be honest about that, nigga, what else you lying about?
The abort mission.
Yeah.
I'm kind of with Twana on this one. It's not even about the trip itself. It's about the communication. Mm-hmm. If you couldn't open your mouth and you couldn't find a way to say that before y'all hopped on a flight, hopped in a car and got there, you're probably not going to be able to communicate other shit too, right?
Right. I'm like,
I think part of it is the way that, particularly when it comes to financial insecurity, here's the truth, we don't know how old they are. I will say this, I think in 20s and 30s, a line about money in that situation is very different than if we're talking about a man that's almost about to be 50 years old.
Yeah.
Like, then I'm gonna
True.
sit there and be like, what are you talking about? So like,
Yeah.
I would wonder how old they are,
That's true.
because that could be a very different,
Mm-hmm.
that context would be different.
Yeah.
If they're in their 20s and 30s, I'm gonna be like, okay, sis, like he was broke. They were broke. If they were 40, if they said, oh, we're 46, girl, first of all, why you ain't got no money to go to Atlanta? And then two, don't be with no nigga that only got $200 to take you
$200 to go there, including gas. Okay, depends on where they live. Half of that gas is expensive.
Gas, I live here, and $200 is not getting me through the weekend. So I don't. So that's what I'm saying. If they were my age, if they were our age, red flags. We just gonna be friends. May the Lord watch between me and thee. 20s and 30s.
It ain't even 30s, 20s, Candice. Don't even go into the 30s.
Yeah, y'all stupid.
There are a lot of red flags, but honestly, friend, you all need to have a conversation. A conversation should have been had. You need to talk to this person and say, look, you know, we all get money troubles. Shit happens. But if we lost CMB, okay.
She lost power. It's storming.
I know. That's what I was shocked that my power hasn't gone out yet.
Let's wrap this up.
Wrap it up. So lastly, as we mentioned before, everyone has a segment. Today's segment is Joss's, and the her segment title is called Trust Me, I'm a Doctor. Take it away, Joss.
Hey.
Yeah, so I'm gonna bring this one a little full circle because it was my idea to watch The Ultimatum. I love the show. This season is crazy pants, but I was so wrapped up in Lisa was her name. I thought about it. Her name was Lisa.
She's
and
great.
I was watching her on this tirade with this man who knew she was crazy. You could look at his face and tell that he knew she was crazy. And she's going on and on about being a 6-figure chick, and you know, she's berating the one and only other Black woman on the show, and she's giving her stats. And it occurred to me, like, why is that her attraction point? And I went down this rabbit hole, y'all, so stay with me. About 56% of Black women are in the workforce, meaning you have some kind of job. About 75% of those Black women are moms. And then within that population, half of them make 6 figures. And so it's really not an anomaly for a Black woman to make 6 figures in our culture in 2023, right?
Right.
And it made me think, like, where are we getting this language from about what attracts someone to you, right? Like, why are you a beautiful woman, dresses well? Why is it that you think that going down your own checklist is how you convince someone to be with you, and not paying attention to how they're experiencing you? Because in that moment, you're screaming at him, you have mushed him in the face, you have berated the only other person who looks like you on the show, you are cussing him out, making a scene. And this is not only how she's scaring all the white people on the show. This is not only how he's experiencing you, and he's not shocked at all, which means you act like this all the time, child. And so my advice as a doctor is to pay attention to the data when you're running down your own list. But when you're writing your list, write it from a place of how people are experiencing you, and then light that bitch up and burn it. Burn the list, because it's not working in our favor. Like, if you have to put it in a lantern and let it flicker off, if you have to go outside and burn it with your cape, Black women, burn the list. Trust me, I'm a doctor. That is my segment. That's all I have to say today.
That was the most efficient segment we've had.
Right.
I know we're short on time. We got storms. Y'all know I'm afraid of storms.
I know, right?
Okay,
It's coming this way, so we really
concise.
So thank y'all for joining us. Our next episode will be led by the one and only Micky. Pray for us, please. We will be discussing personal growth, and we're going to be drinking melanated wine. So get your bottle ready, get your popcorn ready. Let's talk about growth and loving yourself and all of that stuff we need to be doing in this age of our lives. So thank y'all for joining us. I hope that you've enjoyed us. We always enjoy each other. We really miss CMB right now. Like she done fell off.
I know. We got to check on her.
We gonna have to check on her. But you all have a wonderful, wonderful week, rest of your week, and we out.
Bye, y'all.
Peace.